Okay. Bringing up to date.
Sorry, huh?
Well, with that wind, I haven't got the signs back up, but I will have you sign up anyway soon.
See, I helped you out there. I helped you.
You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went back and forth. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Roll call. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amogian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those that voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand at this time as we are led in prayer by Pastor Rachel Johnson from Resurrection Church on the Rock in Cleveland, Ohio. Immediately following our prayer, we're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance and going to ask if Councilman Kilby could lead us.
Lord, first of all, we thank you, and we have true gratefulness tonight to be able to just be among each other. We pray for each council member here. We are praying, Lord God, as a unit. We're praying unified, and we're praying for our, if you will, march will be to the same beat. Lord, let every issue, let everything that comes forward, Lord God, be able to be viewed, maturely be able to be viewed, Lord God, with their heart, their passions. We ask you to cover them. Cover them even in their personal lives, Lord God. We know that personal lives can be a reflection and trickle down to the rest of the things that occur in our business lives, in our careers, and in our politics. So, Lord, we just thank you in advance for what you're going to do. We thank you for all the protection that you will shield over this city, Lord God, and over them, Lord. So we just ask you to continue to use us, however, as servants. Lord God, we ask you to let us have our minds stayed on the purpose. Their hearts are here because of purpose. They are not here for their own. I'm sure that it's truly desires that they've had among their hearts, Lord God, to do other things, but they're here tonight, and they care about your people. So we ask you, Lord, to shield them, cover them, guide them, Lord God, and jail them like never before. And we give you all the honor and the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from the October 21st, 2019 meeting. Council convened a regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All members were present. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. Vote 12-0. Neal abstained. Reading of petitions and communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions. Representation from various departments and divisions. Public speaking period. No further business on a motion by Keith. Council adjourned at 7:44 p.m. to reconvene a regular session on October 28, 2019, or a special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and one abstention.
Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
Petitions and communications, October 28, 2019. Correspondence from Charles Woods regarding the Akron City Council's YouTube channel.
File.
Notice of a transfer of a D5, D6 liquor permit to the Akron Himalaya House LLC, doing business as the Zodiac Bar at 1955 Triplet Boulevard.
Special attention, Councilman Hoke.
Notice of a new C1, C2 liquor permit to Laya Incorporated, 863 West Exchange Street, Ward 4.
Special attention, Councilman Neal. Before you, you have the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it and one abstention.
Who was the abstention? Okay.
We'll now move into our old business. Rules. Councilperson Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. Today, the Rules Committee met, and we looked at two pieces on our old agenda. The first one, excuse me, the first one is a resolution urging the Ohio Secretary of State and the Ohio General Assembly to create a process by which independent, nonpartisan voters may vote in a political party's primary without declaring for that party and declaring an emergency. That vote was 2 for, 2 against, and 1 abstention, so it remains on the agenda. Okay. Number 2 was on our new one, but I don't need to go to that yet.
Thank you so much. Planning, Councilman Fusco.
Thank you. The requested committees for time on 1 through including 6.
Time will be requested on items 1 through 6.
Or the committee on 7 is favorable. We ask for passage.
Committee's report is favorable.
Yes, thank you. This is the Smithers Group World Headquarters project. It's taken a little bit of time to get the cooperative agreement together. This is somewhat unique. There's plenty of partners here. Also, it's important to note that this financing package that was put together with regards to this, this kind of alleviates the problems that we had experienced with regards to the Austin Bioinnovation Institute, really correcting everything that occurred there. But now what we're doing is seeing a world headquarters go to that location to a company that's been here well over 100 years. And so with the promise of 111 jobs staying in Akron and a potential of 84 new ones moving in. And so it's taken a while to get this cooperative agreement in our hands. We all had received it Thursday, and so given that, we request approval this evening.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilman Fusco?
Time on the balance.
Time will be granted. Public Utilities, Councilperson Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. Time, please.
Time will be granted. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
All right, thank you. This piece of legislation obviously replaces a previous piece that we had about a month ago to replace a frame on a med unit. With that, we're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended, and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Sure he did. Okay. Yep. We'll now move to our new legislation.
Okay. Item number 1 in the Rules Committee, offered by Councilwoman Sims and Councilman Kilby. Resolution supporting the state of Ohio in establishing the honorary designation of a section of State Route 261 between North Main Street and Home Avenue as Marine Corporal Andrew D. Brownfield Memorial Highway and declaring an emergency.
Councilperson Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're requesting suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. I would defer to Councilwoman Sims if she would care to say anything at this time.
Thank you, Chairman. As I mentioned during committee today, Corporal Brownfield is a graduate of North High School in 1999. He is the first soldier that we lost in the war against terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I'm honored to stand before you and to offer this resolution and stand in support of its passage. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you have you're making a motion? Okay, so I have a motion for mayor and council as a whole. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Councilperson Keith, did you have any further comments?
No, and I don't think we need to go any further since
That's perfect?
everybody was
Okay.
for it. So,
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, number 2, offer, I'm sorry, 1A, right?
Well, if, I have been told that if we vote as council as a whole and the mayor, that counts as the vote. But I could be wrong.
That's how we've been doing it.
Okay. Item 1A, offered by Mayor Horrigan, President Somerville, Councilman Neal, Councilwoman Omobian, Samples, and Sims. Resolution acknowledging the accomplishments and public service career of Congressman Elijah E. Cummings, expressing condolences and sympathy to the family of the Congressman Cummings of his passing and declaring an emergency.
Councilperson Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee met today. Our report is favorable, and we once again will ask for a suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
I will defer to the sponsor of the original piece, Councilman Neal. Would you care to say anything?
Madam President, no, I mean, we spoke on this, and we think we all know that we just want to acknowledge the life and service of Congressman Cummings. In the same vein, we know we now lost another giant, Congressman Conyers. And it's just, you know, we want to take time just to remember these people and their service and what the legacy that they left, and then hopefully we can build on it. So as we remember Congressman Cummings, I'm sure there'll be something coming in from this council to acknowledge Congressman Conyers as well, but that's the reason. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Busco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 2, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $41,300,000 for the purpose of retiring a portion of notes issued to pay the costs of various improvements in the city and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
Committee's report's favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This will allow the city to issue bonds in the amount of $41,300,000 in replacement of notes of obligation, and with that, we ask for its passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 3, offered by Freeman, ordinance authorizing issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $5,450,000 to pay the cost of improving municipal buildings and facilities in the city and declare an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This again will issue 20-year bonds for capital improvements that we had to facilities throughout the city.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, and Swirsky. Item number 4, offered by Freeman, ordinance authorizing issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $1,800,000 to pay the cost of acquiring and equipping motor vehicle for certain divisions in the city and declare an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Committee's asked for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Again, issuing $1.8 million of bonds, and with that, we ask for its passage.
Very good. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 5, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $935,000 to pay costs for improving the municipal parks and recreational system in the city and declare an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
We had a favorable report from the committee, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
$935,000 bond, and this bond would be towards improvement of municipal parks and recreational systems throughout the city.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 6, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $6,155,000 to pay the cost of constructing, reconstructing, and otherwise improving certain streets in the city and declare an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Again, the committee's report's favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This bond for $6,155,000 would pay for reconstruction of certain streets throughout the city, and it would be noted that these are monies that are used outside of issue 4. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 7, offered by Freeman. Ordinance providing the issuance and sale of not to exceed $1,545,611.24 of bonds to pay in anticipation of the collection of special assessments heretofore levied the property owner's portion of the cost of improving certain streets in the city and declare an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
It's easy for the clerk to say, but
Patui.
committee's report's favorable. We ask for the suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
The street improvements that we're speaking of, there is a portion that falls upon the property owners, and this bond would be to pay that portion, and then that portion will be paid back to the city as those property owners pay those assessments in the coming days.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage, Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amovian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 8, offered by Keith, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Param Electric to replace the existing regulator for the T-hanger and troubleshoot and repair multiple underground and transformer issues on the existing taxiway of the Akron Fulton Airport and declare an emergency.
Councilperson Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this item to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 9, offered by Keith, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Bell Equipment Company to provide for factory refurbishment of 3 East Spoke spreaders for the use in the Highway Maintenance Division and declare an emergency.
Councilperson Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this item to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 10, offered by Keith, ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Liberta Construction for the emergency repair of the sanitary sewer lateral at 705 South Arlington Street and declare an emergency.
Councilperson Keith.
Madam President, the committee would like this item to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 11, offered by Keith, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Cochran Plumbing and Trenching Incorporated for the emergency repair of storm sewer under the Wheeling Lake Erie Railroad and Pondview Avenue and declare an emergency.
Councilperson Keith.
Madam President, this item, the committee has voted to put it on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Number 12, offered by Samples, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with the Macomb Group for the purchase of 10 filter effluent valve actuators to replace those that have worn out at the city's water supply plant and declare an emergency.
Councilperson Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this item placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 13, offered by Samples. Ordinance approving the expenditures of additional funds for the purchase of additional potassium that's a tongue twister there, for bonded chemicals and continued treatment of drinking water at the Akron water plant beyond the amount authorized in ordinance number 17, 2019 and declaring an emergency.
Councilperson Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would also like this placed on the consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 14, offered by Mayor Horrigan. It's a resolution approving and confirming the reappointments of Tom Nicola, Ken Harbin, Francis Ladd, Brenna Herman to the Senior Citizens Commission and declaring an emergency.
Councilperson Amobian.
The committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
These individuals are being presented tonight for an additional 3 terms, and Mr. Purge, I believe, was here earlier this afternoon and talked about the deep dive that they're entering to create a friendly elderly community through ARP and all of the services that they are looking into to make this community friendlier for senior citizens. Is he here? No. I don't think he's here this evening, but he was here this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, you may approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, give us your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Madam President, members of the council, I'm Reverend John Beatty, 2047 Wyndham Road, Akron 44313. You probably remember the plumb line that Councilman Freeman recognized from the scriptures. I showed it to you a couple weeks ago. I have some biblical references I was not able to read to you because of the time restraints for public comment. Very grateful for this opportunity to speak to the council. I'm going to read just one of those passages. It's from Matthew 25. Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." And they will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or needing clothes, or sick and in prison, and did not help you?" He will reply, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." Let's apply the plumb line that Jesus sets before us in Akron. So after the council decided for the rich developers of housing for the rich with 15-year tax breaks, and after deciding against the poorest of the poor, the houseless, and approving the destruction of Second Chance Village and its community support. And I understand that with the council's approval, police presence has moved those for the poorest of the poor off of that mile-long line somewhere on East Akron. The council is now discussing utility rate breaks for the richest of the rich. Seriously? Instead of helping the poorest of the poor get into cheap, secure housing, you are going to give utility rate breaks for those who are rich enough to own their own houses? Indeed, houses with their own swimming pools in their big backyards, and houses with lawns that need to be watered, and cars that need to be washed? When the great unwashed residents in Akron have to ride buses or bicycles or just walk to the stores for food, even though their neighborhood may be a food desert. Come on, council. Don't be so Trumpian, looking down on the poor from your cushy seats of power. Do something for the poorest of the poor for a change, and help the little widow lady whose water is cut off because her rich landlord won't pay for a plumber to fix her leaky toilet. Now, with the time I have left, I'd like to share with you from the Old Testament these words from Amos, the shepherd of Tekoa. "This is what he showed me. The Lord was standing by a wall that had been built true to plumb, with a plumb line in his hand. And the Lord asked me, 'What do you see, Amos?' 'A plumb line,' I replied. And then the Lord said, 'Look, I'm setting a plumb line among my people, Akron. I will spare them no longer. The high places of Akron will be destroyed, and the sanctuaries of Akron will be ruined. With my sword I will rise against the house of Akron.'" Pardon me, I think I misread that a little bit, but it applies to us. The other is this wonderful story in Luke, Dr. Luke. I don't know how much time I have left, but it's chapter 16.
Your time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Reverend Beatty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Karen King, which most of you know. First of all, I want to thank you all for working with me to get the purple bus to stop by my building on Main Street. Because when my doctor found out I was going up on that hill, he had a fit because of my heart condition. And another thing I want to talk to you guys about. Okay, they're working on the left side of the Main Street. Now, when they come over on the right side, where my building at, we're gonna have a problem because SCAT picks a lot of us up to go to the doctor and stuff. And you guys need to bring it to the table and find out, and figure out how we're gonna be able to get our SCAT bus to go to our doctor's appointments and stuff on the Mayflower. And because I know pretty soon they're gonna have that whole right side tore up like they did the left side. And on a good note, I want to bring to you guys a Holiday Tree Festival. And my picture be giving me my award for 6,000 hours for volunteering at Akron Children's Hospital. And I got a letter that I've written, so I'm gonna leave this to you guys, and you can hang this board up because I'm getting very popular around here in Akron. I'm on the Instagram of the projects that I do for Children's Hospital. That's to you guys. And thank you all, and God bless you. And thanks for listening to me. God bless you.
Mrs. King, thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for all that you do for the city of Akron. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, Council. My name is Harrington Hargrove, and I'm coming down here in reference to economic development, inclusion, in reference to rebuilding West Akron. I live in West Akron. I live in Ward 3. I've been coming down here asking for economic development for Ward 3 for a mighty long time. And nowhere in this do I see the inclusion of Ward 3. Nowhere in this. And I would like council to do something. Elevate Akron, inclusion, why not Ward 3? All of you in here know the condition of Ward 3. You have to ride by Ward 3 sometime in your travel in a run of a week. And all I'm asking you is to allocate funding. West Akron, Ward 3, 11 streets, 11 communities that this program is providing. Why not make it 12 communities is what I want to say. And make that 12th community Ward 3. We don't have to be the last, but we should be included. Ward 3, economic development. African-American community. It's quite a few African-Americans live in Ward 3. The GAR report said we're going to do something about it to help uplift us. I would like to see that done. Ward 3 and economic development. We should be included by now. It's been a long, long road in asking this body to do something. I know all of you know the condition of our community. No one in here can say they don't know. So inclusion, and that'll solve a lot of problems in our community. I'm asking to be, as an African American, with my project in Ward 3, 10 to 15 jobs, and it's not worthy of council. That's not right. So I'm going to sit down before I hear the beat. But please, Ward 3 and economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove, and I'll be happy to meet with you after the meeting. I do have some good news for you. Afterwards. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak during our public comment period? Seeing and hearing none, we will close our public comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilperson Keith. Public Utilities, Councilperson Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal.
145.
Housing, Councilman Kilby.
330.
Health and Social Services, Councilperson Amobian. Economic Development, Councilperson Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
12:30.
Is there anything else coming before council? Councilperson Keith?
I have two items. First, this weekend, ACE, a community effort, met at Northwest Community Center, and we moved a lot of mulch, we cut down bushes, and we planted almost 500 bulbs before the rain came. So it was a joint effort with the library and the community center, and it turned out well. But more importantly, what I wanted to mention was that Salika Gathering Home, which is at 211 South Frank Boulevard. You might have gotten the invite in your email and not known why, but this is to address infant mortality, and it is supported by Project Ujima and also the City of Akron. And they're having an open house tomorrow night. I will not be here in town, but I would ask my colleagues, if you have time, to please stop by at 211 South Frank Boulevard. I have down here at 5:30 it starts. But there was an invite in your email, I think, if you go back to it. Anyhow, this just gives women an opportunity to meet with other women who have just had children and talk about some of the issues that may be near and dear to them, and it's in a setting which is very comfortable. So I would hope that if you have nothing going on, that you support this event tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Keith. Anything else coming before council?
We have a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.